Hi, this is Lucy Arnaz. You're listening to TV Confidential.
Ed Robertson, welcoming you back to TV Confidential, radio talk show about television that is very happy to welcome Mr. Laurence Luckinbill. Laurence Luckinbill, the actor that theater goers and film goers probably know best for his role as Hank in both the Broadway production and the motion picture version of Mark Crowley's The Boys in the Band. Television viewers probably know Larry best for his starring role in the ABC spy series, The Delphi Bureau, created by Sam Rolfe, not to mention his guest star appearances in such top shows as Columbo, Murder, She Wrote, The FBI, Bonanza, Harry-O, many made-for-TV movies, and Larry's one-man shows as Lyndon Baines Johnson, Clarence Darrow, Teddy Roosevelt, and Ernest Hemingway, most, if not all of which, were televised on PBS, while Star Trek fans know Laurence Luckinbill best as Sybok, Spock's half-brother in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. These roles, iconic though they all are just part of the fabric of a working actor, director, and playwright who has absorbed more than a few ups and downs in the course of the past 7 decades. That is at the heart of Laurence Luckinbill's book, the title of which is Affective Memories, How Chance and the Theater Saved My Life. We'll tell you more about Affective Memories in just a second, but first, as we pick up the conversation, Larry and I are chatting about some of the people that he and I have in common, one of which is his daughter, Kate Luckinbill Connor. I don't know Kate well, but I know her a little bit because I met her as a result of an event about 5-6 years ago at the Hollywood Museum. It was around the time she launched the Lucy Legacy Project, and right. I did some coverage of that event for my show, and there was one detail. I had inadvertently misquoted something Kate said, and so she asked me, could you fix that? And that she was perfectly professional about it, blah, blah, blah. We took care of it,
And that's Kate.
Yeah. The other memory I have is that she looked, this was just before she gave birth, and she looked like she was carrying the Harlem Globetrotters. All.
I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see a movie where the prop people have gone a little too far with the pregnancy. It's like, and it's a balloon under there.
Yeah, no, but that was no balloon under her. That was.
I know. She is a great mother. That boy is 5 years old now. My son is a sound engineer, and he's trying to find a job now here in California. Mm-hmm. And it's things are strange these days. They're so. And these files will just probably not help anything at all in the movie business. It's like, and who's going to make a movie about the fires? It's too depressing.
Well, but as I said to you the other day, your story is, it is cinematic. Reading it is cinematic. There are a lot of scenes that jump to life and say, this could be a movie.
Yes.
So, as you know from telling the story of the Boys in the Band, sometimes it takes a while for a project to find the right home and the right time and the right people to back it. So
yes. I regard what I've written now as objectively as I can. It's a story about it's an American story.
It is.
It's where we go and how we do it and what we have to overcome and all that stuff.
Laurence Luckinbill is on the line with us. Larry's autobiography, Affective Memories, How Chance and the Theater Saved My Life, is a page-turning, brutally honest, and in many ways very much an American story of how Larry overcame a meager upbringing and an alcoholic family growing up in the Ozark Mountains of Arkansas to forge his way into a successful career as a working actor and later playwright and director on Broadway, in film, and on television. Affective Memories, How Chance and the Theater Saved My Life, available wherever books are sold through Sunbury Press, Sunbury, Sunbury Press. You can also find Affective Memories, Amazon.com, where books are sold online. For more on Larry, LaurenceLuckinbill.com. We're talking about how in many ways Affective Memories is an American story. One theme, and I think you'll agree with this, Larry, is it is the classic story of a broken man who finds redemption and a second lease on life through the love of a good woman, that woman, of course, being your wife, Lucy Arnaz.
Yes, that's absolutely right. And I think I disguised it a little bit better than that. Well, it was, no, that, you look for an arc, don't you?
Absolutely.
And you got to find it if you don't. And in writing my one-man shows, I didn't invent, but I became aware of what is absolutely necessary for a one-person show, which is a motor, because you're talking to the audience mostly. And what's the reason you're talking? What's the reason you're spilling your guts out there by yourself to a bunch of people that you don't know? So it's kind of a weird experience. But the characters that I was lucky to choose, and Lyndon was the first, and then Clarence Darrow, and then Teddy, and then Hemingway finally. And each one of them was a challenge to something personal in me, and I didn't know it at the time. But I had to find that. And each time I was scared as hell that I wouldn't get anything done. Because if you're a politician, talking straight out to an audience is normal. If you're not a politician, then who are you out there talking to the audience? And so you have to find a reason why the person who's on stage has decided to or been chosen to or is pushed to reveal in him or herself fully. And once you find that, and I'll give you the I think a good classic example is in Teddy Roosevelt. I had 30 books on the desk in front of me in my office in Katona, New York, which was over the garage. And I was working, I had taken these books from the South Salem Library, and I had, it was a feast of Post-its, trying to find a way to make Teddy Roosevelt human to people, because there were two plays out there, one of which Jimmy Whitmore had done, and his presence was excellent and wonderful, but the story was just static. It was I got this and I did this and I did that and I got that.
Yeah.
And what's the why? What's the who? And so I was reading these books and finding bits and pieces, and that I knew there were gems that I was going to put in, and there were episodes that I knew I had to write. And at the same time, it was nearing Christmas, and my wife was in the house, across the driveway, and she came in repeatedly in November. I had to do this play in January, and I didn't have a play at the LBJ Library. And she kept coming over saying, "I'm doing our Christmas cards. You gonna help me?" I said, "Of course." So I would be up there till midnight every night in the office, and she would come over and say, "Well, I've done about 100 now. You going to help me?" Yes, of course. And then she'd come, and finally she came. She said she came one night, and I was desperate. I did not have a motor for this play, and I'm thinking, and she came into my office and threw down 2 Christmas cards. She said, "I've done my friends, now you do yours." 250 friends, and I get 2. So with that little bit of humanity and going into my ear, I decided to pick up Corinne Roosevelt's book, which was his sister, who wrote this treacly book where they were calling each other little names like Tweety and Teety and stuff like this, and I thought, I can't stand this book. I'm not going to read it further. But I opened it again, and I read a paragraph almost immediately where she said, I asked my brother to give a speech for my husband, who was running for a Republican office in Saratoga, New York. And at that time, his son, Quentin, had been shot down, and we were waiting for news. And I called him and said, under the circumstances, you don't need to come, Teddy. And he said right back to me, he said, under the circumstances, it is my simple duty.
Yeah.
And he got into the train and went from Oyster Bay to New York and then up to Saratoga. But the porter on the train said, Mr. Roosevelt never looked at us once. He looked out the window, but he was always so jolly and jovial, and we were surprised.
Yeah.
But he was staring out the window. Okay, so he gets into the speech, and he's always got a big fat speech in his pocket. In fact, one speech saved him from being killed. An assassin tried to shoot him. Anyway, he's going on about Woodrow Wilson and how terrible he is in World War I. And suddenly he put his big fat speech down and he looked at the audience and he said this. He said, isn't it absolutely important that the young men that we send who are in the prime of their lives, we send out to fight and die for our country, come back to a country that is better than the country they left. And that was black boxed in every newspaper in the world. And the truth was, 5 months later, Teddy died of congestive heart failure.
Yeah.
And I took that as the fact that he as a warrior president had been the inspiration for his son to be as crazy as he was in combat. And he was a flyer, and he went up against the squadron of German planes and was shot down in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And he was buried by the Germans with full military honors, which was so insulting, on the borderline of France and Germany. And that grave is still there. It's still a place to go and visit. But Teddy Roosevelt died 5 months later, and he was in a room in his house, which was his son's room. And across the hall was the master bedroom. And that's where his wife was sleeping. Because in my view, and I asked the Rangers about this in Oyster Bay in Sagamore Hill, I said, why was he sleeping in the smallest room when he was sick? And they said, well, things might not have been so good between him and his wife.
Wow.
Because Quentin was her favorites.
Yeah.
And Teddy had no favorites. They were all his favorites. And he had 5 kids as well, so that was another little thing between him and me. And so I found that, and I put that in. I put that speech in, and it gave me the imprimatur to go and explain to the audience my whole life as a warrior president, as a warrior, to try to make sense out of my own life, you know.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back. One more item. Are you starting a company in an emerging market or developing something new? Do you have intellectual property but aren't sure how to protect it? Reach out to our friends at Tectonic Law. They offer rock-solid representation for groundbreaking industries who need help capturing and protecting their full portfolio of intellectual property and intangible assets, including trademark rights, brand assets, copyright rights, publicity rights, and privacy rights. Tectonic Law streamlines the complex intricacies of intellectual property and business law in easy-to-understand terms that will help you and your company form a concrete plan of action to secure and protect the value of your brand and your creative work product. Tectonic Law is licensed to practice throughout the state of California. They also practice before such tribunals as the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. Go to tectoniclaw.com, tectoniclaw.com, to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay Area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
I'm Laurence Luckinbill. 200 years ago today, a redcoat sentry rushed up on stage at Boston's Faneuil Hall and shouted, "The rebels are attacking!" The audience roared with laughter. On the stage, soldiers were acting out the blockade of Boston, staged to help boost British troop morale in the besieged city. At first, the Englishmen and their Tory friends thought the sentry was just another actor in the play. But minutes later, soldiers, some in costume, were running from the stage. The alarm was real.
Hi, this is Jim McCrell, and you're listening to TV Confidential, and you might learn something.
Mark Crowley's hilarious play, The Boys in the Band, is now a movie. It's not a musical.
Laurence Luckinbill is on the line with us. Laurence Luckinbill, the actor known around the world as Hank in both the original Broadway production and the motion picture version of Mark Crowley's The Boys in the Band, not to mention Glenn Garth Gregory, the reluctant spy with the photographic memory, who also served as the motor for the ABC spy series The Delphi Bureau, and his one-man shows as Theodore Roosevelt, Lyndon Baines Johnson, Clarence Darrow, and Ernest Hemingway. Larry's autobiography, Affective Memories, How Chance and Theater Saved My Life, is a page-turning, brutally honest story of how Larry overcame a meager upbringing and an alcoholic family growing up in the Ozark Mountains to forge his way into a successful career as a working actor, working playwright in Broadway, film, and television. If you have experienced growing up in a dysfunctional family or a family affected by alcoholism, you will like Larry's book. If you grew up raised in Catholicism or identify yourself as a recovering Catholic, as I do, or you will love Larry's book. If you love theater history, if you particularly like New York theater history of the 60s, 70s, or 80s, or if you just love history in general, history of the 20th century, you will love Larry's book, Affective Memories, How Chance and the Theater Saved My Life, available wherever books are sold through Sunbury Press. You can also find it at Amazon.com, where books are sold online. For more on Larry, LaurenceLuckinbill.com, and Laurence is spelled L-A-U, Luckinbill.com. We've... Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
No,
good.
that's fantastic.
Okay.
No reason not to forget the book.
No reason not to get the book. This is a book that it is a book that transcends its particular genre. It is not a celebrity memoir per se. It is the story of what it means to be an actor and what it means to understand the ups and downs of what it means to be an actor, but it is also the story of a man who happens to make his living as an actor and his lifelong discovery of what it means to be a human being.
Well, that's great. That's great. Well said. Thank you. This is very flattering and wonderful and actually true.
It is true. It is true. Affective Memories, How Chance and the Theater Saved My Life, the autobiography by our guest this hour, Laurence Luckinbill. Affective Memories, available wherever books are sold, sunburypress.com, amazon.com, wherever books are sold online. Larry's going to stay with us for one more segment. We hope you'll stay with us as we continue our conversation here on TV Confidential.
Life can be full of risks. One thing you shouldn't take a risk with ever is your family's health insurance. If you're self-employed or you now need affordable health insurance, you need to make this free call right now and see how the Health Insurance Helpline can help you get it.
800-365-4216. 800-365-4216. 800-365-4216. That's 800-365-4216.